Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday. Tomorrow is Good Friday. We will be out at Scramblers, nonetheless. I know a lot of folks, it is a day off. We're shifting ours to Monday. We like to be out at Scramblers as often as possible. And, of course, we're there every Friday. Shirley's Heating and Air sponsoring that. And there are, some of those inevitable. We just aren't able to be there, vacations. But this is one we're able to shift off. And so, the great thing for, at least this is my opinion of it, like everybody else, well, most of the people, if not everyone else within our building, as we have Good Friday as a paid day off, they are taking Friday off. And then, like I said, we're going to do Monday instead. But really, after the show,
yeah, just go home.
yeah, I mean, just do a little this and that. And so it's almost like you get 2 days off.
I kind of like it because it's very peaceful.
Mhm.
Not that it's always super loud in our building, but I just feel like I can get more done.
Right, you get back, and I'm in here every so often on the weekend. It's not often at all, but there's something that I end up popping in to do, and I'll do things, and it's just like
It's
you're so
peaceful.
quiet. There's nobody here. You feel like without distractions, and so after the show every Friday, we come back here for a number of different reasons, doing different things, and tomorrow it's just I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's almost to me like 2 days off.
Well,
That we squeeze out of one.
I will be in studio, but you will for sure be out at
Oh yeah,
Scramblers.
that's right. You will, because Houston's going to be off
So I'll
for
be
Good Friday. So
big room.
yes, that's right. You will be in here, and then I will be out at Scramblers for Good Friday. So look forward to seeing those of you that come out. And again, thank you to Shirley's Heating and Air for sponsoring the Friday Road Show. Chrissy Fulnecki will join us in the 7 o'clock hour, as will Cam, who is the incredible gal that puts together our great escapes for us, and she is going to be joining us after the 7:30 traffic and weather, so around 7:35 or so, in order to announce the details of our upcoming Great Escape. And then it will be open to the public. If you are someone who's gone on a past trip, and I know many of you have already contacted her and gotten your deposit in, you've gotten your slot reserved, and then that's an offering that we give for people who've gone on past trips. If this upcoming trip will be your first trip, then subsequent trips after that, you will have the ability to go ahead and get a little VIP line and get in ahead of time if you want, and get the details of the trip and everything. So that's just a little added bonus, a benefit that you get for being one of our great escapees or great escapers. I don't know which one.
I like Great Escapees.
Great escapee? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Really have to think about that one. Anyhow, not really that important. Around 7:35. Be sure to listen in, and you'll get all the deets, and you can go ahead and make your reservations. I will let you know if you've not gone before. You don't have to pay it all up front in order to reserve your slot. We'll find out when the deadline is for final payment. Generally, it's months down the road. I suspect it'll be sometime in the summer. So what a lot of people do, some do pay it all up front, but a lot of folks will, every paycheck, put a couple $100 down. And then, make the final payment when it is due. And the great thing about that is once the trip comes, you've already paid for it and everything, and it just psychologically feels like it's a free trip somehow. And then the all-inclusive nature of things, you don't need that whole week that we're there. You go to the restaurant, you go to the bar, you go to all these, all this, and you don't need any cash. You don't have to bring your wallet, don't have to bring your purse, don't have to have any cash, because it's all-inclusive. If you're not done all-inclusive, I'm telling you, you will not regret it. That coming up just after the 7:30 news. All right, a couple of pretty significant developments. One, I'm telling you, the uncanny ability of Democrats to attach themselves to a losing cause. It is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. Largely because it draws the attention to things that you would think they do not want their attention drawn. One of the issues consistently that a majority of Americans overwhelmingly support is deportation of people who are in this country illegally, especially those who have violent criminal histories. Now, what I thought would at some point occur, and it may still in the future, is that Democrats would find some mother of 5 children who fled a violent country to come here and then ended up getting deported and separated from her kids. And this is a woman that, maybe she's worked in an assisted living facility or in hospice care for, 20 years. And she's just, every Sunday she goes to church. Every Wednesday she goes to church. Every Sunday evening she goes to church. She puts together these potluck dinners for homeless people, and has all of these community awards, and everyone loves this person, and that Democrats would rally around that person and make that person the face of Donald Trump's enforcement of our border. Instead, they find this guy that was deported to El Salvador that we have now learned was not only an MS-13 gang member, but had a ranking and was in good standing. We know this because of reports that are being released. His own wife, not once but twice, filed a protection order against him because he beat her, apparently at least more than one occasion. I suspect that, as is generally the case, when somebody finally that is a spouse that is abused files a report, that's not the first time the abuse happens. It generally is something that occurs so often that finally it gets to the point that they just can't take it anymore. So, we now know that he is a wife abuser, according to his own wife. Good standing with MS-13. New reports also that during the Biden administration, he was flagged as the Biden administration believing that he was a human smuggler. This is the guy that Democrats have decided they want to hang their hat on. This guy. I would be hitting my head against the wall if I were a Democrat. Like, this is the guy that you choose? You have a U.S. senator who is from a state, Van Hollen, in which there was just a guilty plea found because of an illegal alien in this country that brutally raped and murdered a woman, and he has no interest in that case. But he flies down to El Salvador to try to, quote, rescue this wife-beating gang member human trafficker. It should be unbelievable. But the Democrats, this consistency of championing the absolute wrong thing over and over and over again, it is a continued gift to the Trump administration. We got traffic in a moment. Right now, the latest news update. Now, that's just a weird story there. Here you have a woman that comes home, finds someone who's not supposed to be in her home legally, and there's this expectation that he just get removed.
Yeah, what's the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with this woman?
He's just a Springfield man.
Well, he's probably just a Springfield man. That guy may have kids.
Yeah.
He might have a family. I mean, we can't arrest that guy. I can't believe that there's any expectation that he leave a home that he was in illegally. What if he has a family?
Yeah.
I mean, if he has kids, we can't separate him, and we know that. So he's got a get out of jail free card right there. Just what a horrible person this homeowner is. He was clearly he was just looking for a better life.
Clearly. Your first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And looking ahead to Saturday, we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 66.
Text message. Any update on the U.S. citizen they are talking about that was deported? I love Trump, but they do need to get him back to the States. It's a little embarrassing. I don't. Are you aware of a U.S. citizen that was deported?
I don't think so.
Now, I know Van Hollen falsely claimed that this deported El Salvadorian gang member was a legal citizen, and maybe that's what this person heard, unless there's something else I'm unfamiliar with. In fact, let's see. Let me find the story here. It's got a number of stories on this. El Salvador, the Democrats pushing to get him back. Democratic senator's staff says he misspoke when he called deported illegal migrant a U.S. citizen. I'm going to contend he did not misspeak. Just as I contend oftentimes when news outlets incorrectly premise a story that is so clearly wrong, and then they turn around and they're like, oh, yeah, sorry, we got that wrong. They do that because they know that the story with the misleading headline, or in this case, the quote from the Democrat senator in which he referred to Trump as deporting somebody that was a legal citizen. Van Hollen told reporters, this is a specific quote, I don't think he's talking about Trump. I don't think he wants to essentially be the president who's kidnapped the United States citizen. That's not an accident that he says that, in my assessment. That's done because he knows that that quote will ever be out there. Now, you may think, well, that's not good for him, right? Well, it's good for the cause. Because what happens is you have people out there who believe that, maybe that they believe that this person was a U.S. citizen, and that's why the judge said that he was supposed to come back. We're going to get to that judge here in a moment. And so what do? They will Google U.S. citizen deported to El Salvador. And what will they find? They'll find a quote from a U.S. senator that backs that up. They'll find the quote of U.S. Senator Van Hollen saying, I don't think Trump wants to be the president who's kidnapped this U.S. citizen. I believe we've gotten to the point these media outlets deliberately put out fake statements, knowing that when people, because they want people to believe that that's what's going on, and then they correct it quickly, so that when those people do the Google search to find out more information about it, they find information that validates what it is that they believe. Because some of these misquotes or they're just too clearly untrue. You don't, when this isn't an incidental slip of the tongue. The whole point of this individual, the original foundational point, is that he's not in the country, or he wasn't in the country legally anyway. He shouldn't have been, regardless of anything else. Even if he was an upstanding citizen, he legally was not supposed to be here. So it's not as if Senator Van Hollen, thought that he was a citizen. That's a very, very deliberate term that's used, so it stays out there forever, so that when lefties who believe that Trump is deporting citizens, they do a Google search, they'll find, oh, look, here's a U.S. senator talking about it. That's why that's occurring. Now, let's talk about this judge. Oh, and you're welcome to the person that texted that in. And to that point, I'm so glad that person texted in asking about that, because here's somebody, a legitimately curious individual trying to keep up with what's going on in the media. That's why that person texted on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line saying, hey, what's going on with this? What's the latest on this? I love Trump. This stuff needs to, gosh, this is kind of embarrassing, all of this stuff going on. And this is a person clearly not some sort of lefty, but is really interested in the truth, that because of the way it's covered, and because of the way that Democrats are accidentally, in the case of Van Hollen, referring to him as a citizen, it's easy to, and then that the media carries that clip, and it allows people that are even supportive of what's going on to believe that it's being done in such a sloppy way, even U.S. citizens are being deported. That's deliberate. That is an absolute deliberate effort, because they know this is something that they know. They're on the wrong side of this. That the majority of American people, even a majority of Democrats and minorities, are supportive of deporting people who are in the country illegally. So, and they know that they're not going to be able to win people over on the merits of the issue itself, so they have to lie. They have to make you believe something that isn't going on is going on. Now, I just think this is hilarious. And some of these left-wing judges have really gone off the rails. This Boasberg, he's moved to hold Trump officials in contempt of court, arguing that probable cause exists to hold the Trump administration officials in criminal contempt after they violated his orders by continuing deportation flights, according to CNN. The ruling follows the Supreme Court's determination that Boasberg's court was an improper venue for the case altogether. So, and this is what, again, so what is the media? The media is going to focus on this judge. I mean, they won't even focus on the judge. They will focus on the fact that the Trump administration may be held in criminal contempt because of what they're doing. Now, the reality is this judge, the Supreme Court already, in a 5-4 decision, overturned what the judge ruled for a couple of reasons. one of which they said, that's not even his jurisdiction. This has nothing to do with you. They told this judge, this is part of the reason we're overturning this is because this is none of your business. The judge, anyhow, is threatening to defy the Supreme Court. Evidently, Judge Boasberg believes that he is superior to the Supreme Court. Because despite the fact that the Supreme Court said this is none of your business, this case has nothing to do with you, the Trump administration doesn't have to listen to you, and he's going to issue a criminal contempt because the White House isn't doing what the Supreme Court already said they don't have to do. You know, we hear so much from the left about, the Trump administration, just defying the Supreme Court. Theoretically, what happens if he defies the Supreme Court? Well, that's what Judge Boasberg is doing. In fact, the story from April 7th, Supreme Court slapdown of Judge Boasberg sends message to federal judge in overreach. In a 5-4 decision, the justices opted Monday, so this would have been the previous Monday, I believe, both to overturn the Boasberg order, Judge Boasberg, order halting Trump's enforcement of the Alien Enemies Act, but also declared that the District of Columbia was a completely inappropriate venue for the case in light of the gang members' detention in Texas. And so, in addition to saying, listen, he's wrong anyway, but it's none of his business. That is not the jurisdiction for this whatsoever. He has nothing to do with it. You might as well just declare that the Trump administration is going to be in criminal contempt because they're not doing what you want them to do. Well, I'm not a judge. Well, so what? This judge doesn't have jurisdiction according to the Supreme Court in their 5-4 ruling, but it doesn't even matter to him. If you take the approach that the left is taking with this judge, any judge, even if they're told by the Supreme Court this is not your jurisdiction, could just do whatever they want. They just order an arrest warrant for Trump. Any random judge. All of this for what? A wife-beating MS-13 member who is in this country illegally, part of a terrorist organization. I love this. Well, there's no proof he was MS-13. What do you need? When he was arrested at one point with drugs, he was with MS-13 gang members. Long-time used informants have said, oh yeah, he's MS-13, and in fact, he has an official ranking within MS-13. They have rankings, just like the military. He has ranking. When he was found with other MS-13 members, he was wearing clothing that is clothing worn essentially as uniforms by MS-13. Well, but anybody can buy, it's certain sportswear and, this just certain things that are worn. The left's position as well, anyone can, purchase that or have that made. Do you know what happens if you wear the colors of a gang that you don't belong to? Do you have any idea what happens to you? Do you have any idea what happens if you get tattoos of a gang in which you are not a member? That is not something people do. If they do, they don't last very long. Well, but that's still not proof. What do you think there's some official registry with the state of Maryland for gang members, MS-13, where you have to go to the local county clerk and, pay your $13 annually and show your ID and show your tattoos and, okay, you're an official member of MS-13. I really do not know what else. What other information could be provided to demonstrate that he is a gang member. He's got the tattoos. He has the clothing. He was arrested with MS-13 members. He has an official ranking title within MS-13. This isn't enough? Oh, we've got to rescue this poor guy. Oh, but he's a dad. Oh, okay. Let's open up the prison gates. Every prison, every jail, every facility in which a person is incarcerated, if they have children, I guess we just let them out. Because apparently that's your get-out-of-jail-free card if you got kids. For people who molest children, this is fantastic. There's another story here. Let's find. It's about the gangs, Attorney General, the wife beating. Oh, I want to play audio. We're going to take a break, and then all right. The shift is beginning. The shift in the media is beginning to try and take the focus away from Abrego Garcia, because it's becoming very clear they're hanging their hat on the wrong guy here. That coming up, I'm Nick Reed. Before traffic here, I found the story. It was the Biden administration that flagged the Maryland father of two from El Salvador as an illegal alien suspected of human smuggling. The deported El Salvadorian man at the center of the intense court battle, flagged in 2022 by the Biden administration as a suspect alien, was possibly involved in human smuggling and trafficking after a traffic stop hundreds of miles from his Maryland home, according to the Department of Homeland Security documents reviewed by Just the News. The records don't indicate whether the Biden administration ever followed up on the concerns. Well, I think we can all predict which direction that went. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was stopped in Tennessee for driving erratically and speeding by a state trooper in late November of 2022, and was found to be driving an SUV full of people coming from Texas with an expired Maryland license, according to the documents. The subject was observed speeding and unable to maintain its lane and was subsequently pulled over. And counting officer decided not to cite the subject for driving infraction, but gave him a warning citation for driving with an expired driver's license. Now, let's be realistic. Do you think anyone that is clearly, visually speaking, just a regular old U.S. citizen here legally would get away with that? Let's be honest. It's very, very clear during the Biden administration that there was no point in arresting people that were here in this country illegally because they would just be turned back out again. So here you've got a guy. Think about this for a moment. He's coming from Texas. He has an SUV stocked full of non-English speaking individuals. He is speeding and swerving over the passing, like somebody that might be drunk, for example. Has expired plates. Gets pulled over, and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to give you a warning. Don't worry, head off on your way. You think you would have gotten away with that? I think we all know the answer. Traffic, I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And looking ahead to Saturday, we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 66.
This just keeps getting better and better. The the father of two from Maryland that got deported, that Democrats have decided to hang their hat on. Now, in the last 24 hours, we've learned a lot. He was a wife beater, among other things, that he actually had ranking within MS-13. He wasn't just kind of a wannabe. He wasn't an intern. He actually had ranking and an MS-13 name. This is according to informants. Back during the Biden administration, he got pulled over with a vehicle full of non-English speaking people. He was in Tennessee, swerving over the line when he got pulled over, had expired plates, and he was coming from Texas, heading back, I guess, to Maryland, presumably. So clearly it was known what was going on. But listen to some of this incident report. Quote, during the interview, this is the officer that pulled him over and let him go, incidentally. Quote, during the interview, subject pretended to speak less English than he was capable of and attempted to put encountering officer off track by responding to questions with questions, the summary stated. When asked what relationship he had with the registered owner of the vehicle, subject replied the owner of the vehicle is his boss and that his work is in construction. There was no luggage in the vehicle, leading the encounter officer to suspect that this was a human trafficking incident. Homeland's own system categorized the incident under the title Human Smuggling Trafficking, the memo shows. The records indicate the incident was located by Homeland Security Investigations during a review of computer-aided dispatch reports generated anytime law enforcement stops a subject. And so, officially under the Biden administration, he was labeled as a suspect alien that was part of a human trafficking ring. What more do we need here about this guy? Before the left, I swear the worse a person is, the more that the left just doubles down and says, nope, that's our guy. They'll probably try to figure out a way to run him for office. Over on CNN, that being said, somewhat facetiously, I believe that the shift is going to begin to some degree, and Democrats are going to suddenly... If we fast forward weeks, maybe months in advance, or in the future, and this issue comes up, and Republicans are like, "Remember when Democrats were supporting this wife-beating human trafficker from MS-13?" They'll start to claim, "We never defended him. No, we never argued against his deportation." We're beginning to see the shift in narrative on this guy. This over on CNN yesterday.
Prince George's County in 2019, their gang unit determined that Garcia was an MS-13 gang member. His wife in 2021, the wife that's now giving, lengthy testimonies about how great he is, said that he's a serial abuser, and she has a ton of photos to showcase said abuse. I agree, due process is absolutely important. We want to maintain that, but I think there's absolutely enough here to send this guy somewhere else. One, he's already broken the law. We've already established that. Now you do have evidence suggesting that he was a member or is a member of MS-13. He's also a serial abuser. This is not the type of individual I don't think any one of us would want in our country. He should be deported.
We can't make it about Kilmar. Like, that's just one person.
That's the case we're talking about.
Oh, really? Well, let's not talk about him. We can't make it about one person. Who made it about Kilmar? This is all that we've heard for the past 2 weeks from the media and Democrats. It's all about Kilmar. His picture everywhere. The description incidentally, for a period of time, they're like, it's a guy who had a job at Home Depot. He was arrested with other MS-13 gang members. They had drugs on them, hanging out in the parking lot at Home Depot. He was not an employee. There's a bit of a difference there. If you're hanging out with fellow gang members doing drug deals or whatever in a parking lot, that does not allow you to put it on your resume as a place of employment. Little memo to you Democrats. I love all of the sudden that it's becoming apparent, once again, Democrats are holding up as some sort of citizen of the year a horrible human being who, again, is not even supposed to be in the country in the first place, that now that that's coming to light, they're wanting to shift away. Well, this really isn't about him. Well, because that's exactly what you've made it. Day after day, beating it into the ground. You made him the poster boy. How convenient. Now they don't want him to be on the poster any longer. What a shocking turn of events. Coming up, big open house, April 29th, the unveiling of the brand new state-of-the-art facility, Pinnaker Honda, where currently, you don't have to wait till their big grand opening on April 29th, currently today even, 0.99% interest rates available on select certified pre-owned Hondas. 0.99% on certified pre-owned vehicles. We're not even talking about the brand new ones. And for those that like to buy good old US of A, Honda Ridgeline, Passport, and Odyssey are made exclusively in Alabama. Exclusively in Alabama. Every Friday they have food trucks there, by the way. So if you're one of those folks that you work a 9 to 5 and, just like, I don't know that I have time. I guess we can go on Saturday to check out the incredible deals. Friday on your lunch break, you can swing by, hit a food truck, and then check out one of the amazing Hondas that they have on site there at Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. This is a text on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. So he was suspected to be a trafficker, and he had people in his car, and they didn't do anything. They just let him go. That describes the Biden administration completely. Yeah. That's reference to the latest revelations we've learned that the wonderful man of the year the Democrats are trying to, quote, rescue from his own country of El Salvador is, or was, during the Biden administration, labeled as a suspect human trafficking smuggler because he was found driving from Texas through Tennessee with a load full of people that didn't speak English, had no luggage whatsoever, expired license plate. He was speeding, swerving, and they let him go. Because of course they did. That is the Biden administration. There was a story on... I don't have the audio of the story, but let me read to you Ozarks First. Another international student in the Ozarks has visa terminated. Another college in the Ozarks is being impacted by the Trump administration's immigration plan. A Drury University attendee recently had her student visa terminated. Drury sophomore Owen Powell Smith. Almost everybody here is appalled by what is occurring. Oh. First, it was just impacting college students across the nation. Now, the new federal approach to immigration enforcement has hit Springfield higher education. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, quote, "If you come to this country as a student, we expect you to go to class and study and get a degree. If you come here to vandalize a library, take over a campus, and do all kinds of crazy things, we're going to get rid of these people, and we're going to continue to do so." 6 students from Missouri State University had their visas terminated, and now 1 student from Drury has also had their status revoked. Drury student Marco Stroud, quote, "People have the right to come to America and come to school here and learn what they wish to learn." No, that is not true. That is factually incorrect. This is not a matter of opinion. They do not have the right to come in. People from across the country, this is why they have to fill out a visa application. If they had the right to come here, they wouldn't have to do that. They come here at the pleasure of the United States of America. This is why they fill out an application. And they make certain agreements, like they won't run Jews off of campus. Powell Smith said it's very scary to see the kind of direction things are trending. Powell Smith said, at least like in this situation, they're going to try their best to make sure the students can still get an education, which apparently the MSU has clarified that the 3 students that had their visas terminated there will be able to continue their classes, I'm guessing remotely online. Stroud saying, quote, "We still have the right to have DEI for everyone." In reports from the AP, some students across the nation said the reasons given for revoking their visa was that the students had a criminal record. Oh, well. Drury and Missouri State did not give a reason for why their impacted students' visas were terminated. Don't you find that curious? I do. I love how you have these students, first off, that mistakenly believe that anyone, whomever they are, no matter how much they may hate the United States, has the, quote, right to come here and go to a university. But in addition to that, apparently having no clue whatsoever why it is that these visas were revoked. It's clearly for specific reasons. These aren't the only students that are from foreign countries using student visas to come to these campuses. The vast majority of the students are just fine that are here on student visas. So you have a small, very small, select few. Clearly, there is something that has differentiated that small number versus the rest of them. This doesn't strike any of the students as curious. This is, again, a poor reflection on MSU and Drury University that these students apparently have no curiosity. My first thought, if I learned that out of the, I don't even know how many students on foreign visas were at the university, that a couple of them had their visas revoked, my first thought would be, well, what did they do? That apparently doesn't cross the mind of any of these people. There was some reason for the revoking of the visas. And it's not simply because they are in this country as a foreign student, because the vast majority of those students are having no problem. It is a very small select few. And the fact that there appears to be at Drury or MSU, number one, they're not revealing what those reasons are. And number two, the students who are pitching a fit saying this is the worst thing awful, really? Do you have any idea what these people did? Or what they're suspected of doing? I don't know. Maybe it's something that some people would consider to be rather benign. But I acknowledge I don't know what it is. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, there is one fact that remains. And that is that no, none of those students have the, quote, right to come to the United States and have an education anywhere they want about anything they want. They are here because they were allowed to come here. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Even as I text, KY3 is still promoting Garcia as a Maryland husband who was illegally deported. He wasn't illegally deported. He was deported to the wrong place. And the judge who ultimately, Boasberg, made that declaration, the Supreme Court 5-4 said, you have no say in this whatsoever. This has nothing to do with you. This is not your jurisdiction. Keep your mouth shut. But that hasn't stopped him from subsequently, apparently, defying the Supreme Court and now claiming that, think of the rock and the hard place that this puts the administration in. We're talking about constitutional crisis. You have the Supreme Court that's saying, listen to us. And now you have this judge saying, no, if you listen to the Supreme Court, I'm going to hold you in criminal contempt. What do? Speaking of Supreme Courts, over in the UK, unanimously, the United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled yesterday that transgender women, that would be a man who pretends to be a woman, does not fit the legal definition of a woman, which is reversed for those born biologically female, or reserved, rather. The court's 5 judges agreed, ruling that the terms women and sex under the country's 2010 Equality Act refer to, women, actual women, biologically speaking. While the ruling does not remove protections from transgender people who are protected from discrimination on the ground of gender reassignment, the court confirmed, but a transgender person with documentation recognizing them as female should not be considered a female for equality purposes. It's amazing. People on the left for the longest time, particularly younger people, they really love to turn their nose down on America and look at Europe as so enlightened. A lot of times you'd have young people and, they go to Europe and they go backpacking and they come back and it's just, all about how so much more sophisticated they are over in Europe and they're so much more advanced and they're not just these stodgy, we're just so close-minded in America. Yet, over the last several years, when it comes to the recognition, increasingly by our European neighbors, that sex change operations for kids is jacked up and shouldn't be done, that men are men and women are women, and legally speaking, a man is not a woman just because he claims that he's a woman. Suddenly there's this real lack of enthusiasm from the left about how advanced the Europeans are. Suddenly, we don't hear the left calling on us to look to our European friends and see them as the guiding light of how we should go in order to become a nation of more sophisticated and enlightened people. That just seems to be gone. Very interesting, isn't it? Coming up just after 7:30, we're going to get the update on the upcoming Great Escape, and it will become open to the public, so you can reserve your slot. Also, Christy Fulnecki. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. Coming up in just about 30 minutes, we will officially open to the public Great Escape. That's right. The 2025 Great Escape. We'll go over all the details, including the locate, the when, the watch, the how much, what you can expect. So 30 minutes from it now, and then you will afterwards be able to go ahead and make your reservation so that you can join us. If you haven't been, make it your year to do so. We need to see if we can get Lori Rook and her family to come along. Ozarks Elder Law. You don't want to get basically, you don't want to screw your family over when you're gone. I mean, I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe you don't like your family, you want it to be some huge hassle, but most people, they do some planning ahead, particularly when it comes to the funeral. Buy the burial plot, do this. That way, whenever your children and your grandchildren are mourning your death, the last thing that they have to worry about is, a bunch of financial burdens. And part of that may be you thinking, well, I'm going to leave my house. I'm going to leave this. And so I just wrote up a will. I downloaded something online. Man, I'm telling you, any way the government believes that they can get in there and figure out a way around it in order to make life hell for your kids and to get as much of their cut as they possibly can, they will, which is why you need Ozarks Elder Law on your side. Visit with these folks and find out what it is you need to do to prep for this. And here's one of the great things about it. Aside from having 10 locations across the Ozarks, you're like, well, I live over in Joplin. They got a location there. Oh, I live in Lebanon. Got a location there. I'm in Bolivar. Location there, Mountain Grove. There's a number of different locations. You can find them at ozarkselderlaw.com. But the consultation's free, and it's not an hourly thing. I think one of the big obstacles for people is they're like, it's probably like $100 an hour, and what is this going to take 5 hours? And then that's only going to be for a consultation, and then I got to come back, and then they're going to work on it. I don't know if they actually work on it for 6 hours like they said they did, and they're going to charge me for that. There's no hourly fees, so you don't get nickeled and dimed. No drawn-out process. They, ahead of time, before you get charged anything, say, in order for us to do this, this is what the fee is. So don't let that be a stumbling block for you. OzarksElderLaw.com, also at KSGF.com under Nick's endorsements. Hey, everyone, it's Christy Fulnecki.
Hello, hello.
Hello, how do you do?
Yes. It's almost Easter.
It is almost Easter.
I know.
Good Friday's
That's so
coming up,
exciting.
and tomorrow. And then we got Easter.
Today's Holy Thursday. Good Friday.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
Yes. Have the breakdown.
All right, there we go. We got her all.
Yes. So what's going on?
I used to eat Cadbury eggs, but I haven't had one in a long while.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps tomorrow.
Do you like the cream ones or the caramel ones?
I've never had the caramel one. I
They're
like
both
the
pretty
cream
good.
ones.
The caramel are good, yeah.
Do you know
What
what?
do you like, Sarah?
I like the cream ones.
Oh. Yes.
And
Well, we
you?
have this caramel. Well, no, I wanted to talk about something, but I'm very excited for the Easter Bunny to come. So
Yes, you are. Are you?
Yes.
I
We
bet.
still have a lot of children.
Yeah.
Well, they're not children, but
Well, they're
And
still
now-
children.
now a grandson.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you talk too much about him last week? Did you learn?
She was asleep still.
Okay.
She didn't hear me say it.
Got it.
She didn't hear me talk at length
she did
about
not
my
hear
grandson.
Kiki the Comanche.
She listened to your song that you made, but
That
Oh,
was Sarah
yeah.
that made.
that was great. Kiki the Comanche.
Huh?
Yeah.
Very good.
I
Very
know.
good. Well, I tell you what, because I feel like we hit a real lull in the conversation, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the news, and then we'll continue on after that. We'll regroup. Okay. All right. We'll get
Start over to start.
we'll get to it straight. Well,
Just go ahead. and
no,
start
no, no,
talking.
no. We'll
You start shoving on
We'll
me.
regroup. We'll regroup. Do a bit of a reset during the news.
Mhm.
Find the button to hit here.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight partly cloudy with the low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And looking ahead to Saturday, showers throughout the day with a high near 66.
Christy Fulnecki is with us. Coming up here, we are, after 7:30, going to announce and make open to all of you, the public, the upcoming Great Escape. First, though, case in Humansville. It's been in the news. So give us
Yes,
background on
I'm
it. What
telling
case
you.
is this?
Okay, so if you live up there in Bolivar or around that area, Humansville, Missouri, it's a rather small town, but if you Google Humansville, Missouri, I'm not sure how many court cases are involving that city and the people in the city.
I feel
So
like
it's crazy.
whenever they came up with the name, they didn't put a lot of effort into it. It's usually your name. It'll have some sort of historical, like battlefield. You're like, oh, it's got this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, well, we got humans. Let's go with that.
There's a lot of humans and a lot of drama.
What was the
I'm telling
case?
you. Okay, well, so there's a city employee, and I mean, not that I can talk about it before, but it's
Right.
over now. It was a criminal case, my client, and they're all listening. So, hi to Sophia Piper, her husband Jason, Bobby. They're all listeners. So, I wanted to say, Bobby, he listens to you. He's former law enforcement.
Hey, everyone.
And so, hey, everyone, and
Hey,
Bolivar
humans.
humans. Um, Okay, so this is an example of how the media likes to destroy people and defame them. And then they never write an article
Right.
retracting everything. Whoa, that's so shocking. So it was for election interference
Okay.
that she supposedly interfered with a lady that wanted to run for mayor.
Okay.
And then later
In Humansville?
in Humansville.
Okay.
Okay. So I represented her in a criminal case, and her name was, she was smeared, dragged through the mud. This has been going on for over a year. And then, of course, there's all these people making Facebook posts off of what the news reporters are doing. And It's driven by a few people in the town. I mean, you know how local politics, I know how local politics goes, and involving some aldermen. And so, there's been a lot of drama there it's been going on for a year. So she was only charged with election interference. So Channel 10 there, they did a big story, a news leader. Well, I did depositions, a lot of depositions. So the people that are supposedly the one victim and the other people that filed these complaints with the Secretary of State, nobody showed up to deposition. And not only that, I had subpoenaed the victim twice, and she had multiple warrants out for her arrest.
And is this the one who was
going to run for mayor? And so I'm not sure if she was arrested, if she was in jail and can show up. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't think she was actually going to run for mayor, and I don't think this actually happened. And so the case was dismissed. Well, they also, the news media and these, this kind of group that are against her, they said that she was stealing from the city of Humansville, and all these public funds were missing. She was never charged for any of that, but it started to become this rumor, and then it became this huge story. So all these news outlets, the big, I guess, people that pushed it were the news leader and Channel 10. Now I see it's all over different media outlets. Well, I haven't had time to write a press release. Right. I thought, well, okay, that is my job, but I've been in court every day, so I'm going to do it today.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. But this happened last Friday. So where's the newsletter? Where's Channel 10? Where are all the people saying that she's dismissed and that she didn't do anything wrong? And not only...
That's not nearly as exciting.
But not only... I know, but
not nearly as scandalous.
Yeah, but so not only did she not do any of this stuff, but they were reporting on things that she wasn't even charged with.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that is a great person, that she has worked for the city for 30 years. She's been a volunteer firefighter for 30 years. And they totally just ruined her reputation.
Why did the person, if it is believed that the person who claimed that they were not able to run, wanted to run or whatever, why were they running or what was this about?
They, I guess, apparently, allegedly went to go pick up a package to run for mayor, and then she said that they couldn't run. Well, she's a utility clerk. She's not even the city clerk, because the city clerk left. And so there were conflicts with when she came, because the people that we were supposed to depose and find out the facts, none of those people showed up. So we don't even think that she went in there and went into the office to get a packet. So this whole thing was based on that. And technically, you're like, why is that a crime?
Are you speculating that the reason they didn't show up for depositions is because they didn't want to go on the record making claims?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But, so there, it's too bad. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be other lawsuits to come. But there's the former police chief is suing the city. Then there's an alderman. I mean, there are a lot of lawsuits going on. So all the attorneys up there are
what's the population
it's
of
not big. I mean, maybe we can look that up, because seriously, I drive through there and it's north of Bolivar.
Sarah, can you do some research on this? No,
of 2023, 934.
I'm telling you.
So basically everyone's fighting.
I'm telling you.
Why did I think it was south of Bolivar? It's north of Bolivar.
It's north of Bolivar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know where it is. Just try go to Kansas City.
Can you imagine being the city attorney? There's a attorney Meade that's the city attorney, and he's a great guy.
What's in Humansville? Is there anything any restaurants or bars or?
I just
there's Cody's Diner. It's got 4.6.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's good. I don't know. I go to
the small town restaurant.
The alderman meetings, and there's just a lot of drama. It's in this, the smaller room. It's always packed.
Yeah.
And but local politics. But again, just another fail of the media, that you'd smear someone, and then they don't come out and say, hey, there was not any evidence to criminally charge her and go through with it. And
maybe now,
because literally they dismissed it. I did all these depositions, and we had a 3-day jury trial coming up. It was in 2 weeks. It was next week. So
to the audience at large, that's oftentimes very disappointing because you want to know how these things end. But I can only imagine if you are the subject matter and you see what you view as skewed coverage and partial coverage, and then it's all like, okay, finally, it was dismissed. They didn't even show up. Okay, good. Now the world will know. And then you're like, hey, wait, how come you stopped covering this? That would be very frustrating.
Falsely accused
Yeah.
and you don't even get to clear your name. Well, I mean, I'm gonna help her do that, but I mean, that's the job of the media is to accurately report, and then all of a sudden everybody's quiet.
Yeah, sounds like Humansville's got
That's right.
some issues up there.
Yeah, I'm just glad that at least that part's over for her. She's a great person.
Well, good.
Yes.
I'm glad.
And then I want to move on
It's
to
all
something else that I have to. Okay, so this whole thing about these senators flying to El Salvador is the funniest story of the week. Okay, do we have time to talk about
Yeah,
that?
let's go ahead and just
Okay,
take 2 minutes, and then
okay.
we'll talk about that coming up with Christy Fulnecki. I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com. All of your home loan needs tomorrow. We will be at Scramblers, broadcasting live. Our sponsor for that, Shirley's Heating and Air. And then one of the characters should be with us. It is Good Friday. I know they adhere somewhat strictly to their religious beliefs, as many of us do. And so I don't know if that being Good Friday, if one of them will join us or not. But if so, of course, they will be accessible. They're always accessible. It's just those Fridays when they join us, you can meet with them in person if you want to. But iwantagreathomeloan.com has their contact info. So making that decision, gathering all the information, so not just, oh, what do I qualify for, but is it a good time? Should I wait? Should I do a reverse mortgage? Should I refinance? Is this a good time? That's where they come in most valuably to you. So utilize them in that capacity. And it all starts again at iwantagreathomeloan.com. And Christy Fulnecki is with us.
I know we're going to talk about something else, but
Yes,
I
yes.
wonder if the Attorney General of New York has called them to help them with her mortgage.
Oh, did you see? I think they only cover Missouri.
But apparently she said she lived in Virginia.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. 500
right?
miles away.
Yeah.
Well, did you? The Daily Caller went. Have you? Oh,
No.
I'll play this here.
There's so many funny things,
yes.
too, this week.
So
Yeah.
Letitia James, for those that don't know, apparently there's been a referral to the Department of Justice because they found out a lot of things that she put down on her loan applications weren't exactly true. One of which was that her father was her husband.
Yes.
And that her primary residence was in a home 500 miles away from her workplace, which, by the way, you have to be legally residing in New York to be Attorney General of New York. Yet for this loan application, in order to get a lower interest rate, she claimed that she was going to be a resident in Virginia or West Virginia or whatever it is. And, of course, what's hilarious is this is how she tried to go after Trump.
I know,
by claiming
I
that
know.
he
I
misled
know.
in order to get a better interest rate. And Daily Caller News Foundation went to 2 of the homes that are under scrutiny that she put as yes.
Oh,
So this is the first home that they went to, and you'll hear them engage with someone who is just talking to them through the door.
Car parts driveway.
Hello there, ma'am. No comment? Okay, well, who lives here?
Who lives here, ma'am?
No comment. Okay.
All right, so the first one, the person wouldn't even come out, no comment. People they talk to in the neighborhood, they're like, yeah, I think it's some lady who has kids that live there. But none of them, one neighbor said, it's not that lady from New York that lives there. So then they approached the other home that she had listed as a residence, and there was a woman on the front porch.
Hi there. I'm a reporter to the Daily Caller News Foundation.
That's bad.
I'm sorry.
That's bad. My kids are out here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are, because
That's none of your business.
there are connections. There are connections to New York Attorney General Letitia James. Are you related to Letitia James?
Do you know her?
Just ask me. Go to the house.
Do you know Letitia James? No? Okay. No comment. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
You well.
You know, it's almost as if they had been prepped. I didn't seem surprised somebody was coming just immediately, no comment.
No comment.
What I think's funny is,
It's to say that.
right,
Yeah.
I think it's also funny that the woman on the porch, they're asking her, do you know Letitia James? And her kid said no, and she goes, get inside that. You get off right now.
I mean, talk about a hypocrite. I mean, if you're Trump, you're just.
It's like of
You know
all
what?
the things.
I hope she. So somebody was saying last night that I hope she goes to jail, and then I hope to prison, and then I hope Trump pardons her. How epic would that be?
That would be pretty good. These people, of all the things to try and set Trump up for, why would you try and set him up for something that you yourself do? One of the stories noted that the alleged fraud that she committed in filling out fake information in order to get better interest rates on a loan was just like a week before the trial began, in which she was going after Trump.
I mean, sometimes with your enemies, vengeance happens just
Yeah.
naturally. I mean, God just helps you out because, I mean, you know how satisfied they were when they probably heard this? I mean, Alina
It would have been
the
like, are
attorney-
you kidding? That's what I would have been like, you cannot make this up.
I know.
Of all of the things, she really is doing this stuff.
But I'm sure they're not surprised. I mean, Democrats do this all the time. They're a bunch of
Yeah.
hypocrites.
They're worse than that.
I know. Well, okay, so we had to talk about El Salvador president. It's so funny that the whole time that I didn't hear anyone last night talking about this, that the Maryland senator that was going down to El Salvador, he is using taxpayer money to do that.
Of course.
I mean, that's crazy.
I like how he goes down there and he's like, I want to see, and they're like, no. I wish they had of.
No.
And then genuinely, I wish they let him visit, because he said he wanted to go visit him in prison. I wish they had have done that. And I would have loved to have heard the conversation between the two.
Yeah.
Because that would have been golden.
Well, the greatest thing that president said was when he was with Trump, and he said, "So you want me to smuggle a terrorist back in the United States?" What's wrong with you people?
How jacked up is it that we once upon a time were the country that you didn't have to lock your doors at night. We had law and order. There was this expectation culturally that you followed our laws, that you were good citizens of society, that were productive. And it was just stereotypically, and it was earned, this reputation for a lot of these countries like El Salvador, that they had no control. The criminals ran everything. And now the roles are so reversed. And Trump is, of course, trying to fix it, which is why they're attacking him.
Right.
That you have the president of El Salvador like saying, what are you talking about? We have our crap together. And you're asking us to, like, you want me to release a terrorist into the United States. You want, like, no.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
what
they
is
look
wrong
like
with you?
total fools. And then when he's out there giving the press conference, the senator, and I think he said something that he offered to have him tour the jail. That he said, "All you can have a tour if you want." And he was like, "I don't want to do that." And then I asked to talk to him on the phone, and Maryland dad, I asked to talk to him, and he's like, and the president said, "Well, that can't be arranged."
I do wish that, like I said, they let it happen, because that would have been golden audio for Republicans to release whatever he would say, because it would be something that was positive for this, terrorist and wife beater and drug trafficker and all of these things that we're learning he's done. We've learned had a ranking in MS-13.
Yeah,
I mean, he had an
why
official
would
ranking. He had worked himself up on the ranks.
themselves or like
I
tie
don't,
themselves to a
I
rock and
don't know.
drowning?
Birds of a
Like
feather, I guess.
of any issue that you're going, especially. I mean, the lady that they had up at the press conference of the White House, that her daughter is the
Was
one that
murdered
murdered.
in
And
his state.
in Maryland.
Yeah, in
That's what I
Maryland.
was going to say. In Maryland, and then he has a gall to fly down
Yeah.
there,
And the
then
media, when she was at the White House, for those that missed it, this was the mother, and her daughter's murderer was just found guilty.
She's the one with the 5 kids.
The 5
yeah.
kids, and so she spoke at the White House. CNN and MSNBC didn't even cover it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so here they don't cover that, but they will go wall-to-wall coverage on the father of 2 from Maryland, who's again, it's priorities. Christy Fulnecki with us. All right, coming up after the break, good traffic, weather, and then we are going to fill everyone in on the details of the latest Great Escape and officially open it to the public. That in moments. I'm Nick Reed.
It will be correct. Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Ozark's first meteorologist, Tom Schmidt. Sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And on Saturday, showers throughout the day with a high near 66. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air, summer, it will be here soon and it never fails. One of you will have an AC unit go out on the hottest day of the year. Don't go at it alone. I want to recommend my go-to guys, and that is Russell and his team over at Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Now, I've used Russell and his team for, oh my goodness, many, many years now, and they're great to work with. Not only do they offer services, repairs, and replacements, but they also offer indoor quality air products to help reduce allergens, mold, and dust. So if you are a person who suffers from allergies, they have several great purifiers and other products to help cut down on that and also help the quality of your air to just help you breathe a little easier this spring and summer. So whether you want to schedule that AC tune-up, maybe you want to join the Foreman team because they are still hiring, or maybe you're interested in improving your indoor air quality, schedule an appointment with Foreman Mechanical today. You can find all of that contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Regarding Humansville, we were talking about earlier, someone texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk, and text line Humansville was named after an American settler, Judge James G. Human, who settled it in 1834.
Fun
So there
fact
you
of the day.
Fun fact of the day.
Yes,
But
okay.
and coincidentally,
Thank
he was a human. So all worked out nicely.
Well, how about that?
Cam, we got Cam here for the travel group. All right. So I know we've got the Great Escape. We're going to announce it now. I know many of you who have been on past trips have already reserved your slot, and we are going to be opening it to the public today. And so it's always great to see you because that means good news.
I know. Well, it's always fun to be here because we're announcing good
Yes,
news.
it is. It's wonderful. All right. So let us know what do we got here?
All right. The dates, because everybody asked that first,
Right.
are Sunday, November 9th through Saturday, November 15th, the 9th through the 15th. We are going to Cancun, Mexico.
Yay.
But it gets better. We are staying at and we got to practice this, Rio Palace Kukulkan.
Yeah, Kukulkan.
Kukulkan.
I'm glad you're saying it.
We're going to practice that.
I went on YouTube and typed it in because people will do their own reviews all the time, and it's a really great thing. If you're ever thinking about, people ask about resorts, I've learned this. Go to YouTube, type it in, and you will see all sorts of reviews from just normal people. And
Yes.
I went and listened to like 3 or 4 different people saying that
Kukulkan. Yeah,
Kukulkan, because it's Kukulkan.
Yes.
Kukulkan. Kukulkan.
Don't say it wrong, or I'll say it wrong. For the rest of
I know.
It's been interesting. And I thought it's a Mayan word. It was a serpent god. With
Oh,
feathers.
okay.
It had feathers.
I'll just call it Serpent
Yeah,
God.
so,
Reuse Serpent God.
Yeah, I think I like the Kukulkan better than serpent god, so we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But it's brand new. It was only built and opened in November of 22. So it's all.
Oh,
it's all new.
nice.
Yeah.
That's nice to know. Okay.
And it's adults only, which our group happens to love. We don't like to get splashed in the pool.
Yeah.
Unless it's by our
Yes,
own
I agree with
children or
that.
grandchildren. And it's closer to the hotel zone, which we've never really stayed in that
Right.
area before.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
that's
kind of
gonna
a
be
new thing for
new.
us. Yeah, and you can get into town if you want to, or if you don't want to, you can stay right there on the beach the whole time. We of course are going to have the Renaissance before and after. We do that for convenience sake. We are taking the charter out of St. Louis because we love the direct flights.
Well, and let me mention for those who haven't been on a trip, you mentioned the Renaissance, and it's right there
It's
by the
wonderful.
hotel, and
Yeah.
so we get a special rate. And then in the morning, they take us to the airport shuttles, and what I think is the best part is there's secured parking, and they allow us without any additional charge to leave our vehicles there while we're gone the whole
Right.
time.
And they are great to us because we've been going there for years.
Right.
So it's all the rate includes the parking, and parking alone would be
Oh, yeah.
well, almost
Oh, yeah.
$200. So I
Right.
mean, it's kind of like a freebie. You
Yeah.
know, we get the room
Right.
and then we
Mhm.
get the parking for free. So we love that, and everybody loves the Renaissance. And we have 2 types of rooms. We have a junior suite Gardner pool view. And that one's going for $19.99 a person, and that includes a checked bag, your flights, your transfers, your gratuities, all your food, all your beverages, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, everything. The only thing we'll add to that is insurance, trip insurance,
Right.
and the Renaissance. We book it and then you pay when you're
Yeah.
there, but we get the rate.
And of course,
for
there,
everybody.
that's up to pretty much everyone does it, and I'd
Yeah.
advise it, of course,
Yeah.
but you certainly don't have to.
Well, unless you have friends or family, but even then, you got to get them up in the morning, get them going. And
Right.
people like to meet the night before. It seems like everybody kind of congregates. and
Yeah,
has,
there's
you
a
know, sees
restaurant and
everybody.
a bar
yeah,
in the.
Yeah, I love Renaissance.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Renaissance.
we
Beds
stay
are
there when
comfy.
That's
and
part
it's
of
right
the
by the
fun
airport.
is getting there, and people are texting, "Hey, what time are you getting
Yeah,
here?"
where
And
are
so
you?
it's great, and it's a great way if you've not been on one of these trips to just sort of get things started.
Well, and it's funny you said that. I had a gal yesterday who came in. She had gone with us before, and she said she'd already put her money down. She's already found a friend to go because her husband's going to be hunting during that time. And she said, the first time I went, I walked in and I instantly had friends. Everybody,
that's
including me.
That's great.
She said, and I'm on. I am going again. If my husband can't go, I found a friend to go. So she said it's just such a great group,
Yeah.
and it really, truly
Well,
is.
Bob texted him.
Oh,
Go live.
Jared.
But to that point, so Becky, who has come along with him on a couple of different trips, she lives in Illinois now, but she came all the way in. Was it last week or the week before we had happy hour? Drove
It's
a happy hour,
Yeah.
and she came to happy hour because she said, and she's the same thing. She said, "I will not let these friends go. These people that I become friends with on the Great Escape," and so drove all the way from Illinois just to hang out and see everyone.
Well, and like I was telling y'all earlier,
Yeah.
these folks have been coming in my office all week because we kind of give a little heads up to those that have traveled with us before. So it's like old home week in our office. And they come in and we chat and we laugh. And when they leave, all the other gals that are in the office go, "You have the nicest clients." And I go, "Those are KSGFers." And they're not just nice. They are nice, but they're fun nice.
Yes.
They're not staid and stoic. They're
Yes.
nice
Oh,
and just
good time.
pleasant and
Good time
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love them. I love them all. And Watson's, hey, they were driving today somewhere and they came in yesterday and they said, the first time we went, we were driving this same place and we heard it and we signed up. So they're doing that again today.
Oh,
So
that's
they've already signed up. So, hey, Watson's.
There's a couple who have, to the point about the people who go, and the trip is so much fun, but the people that go on these trips, and there was a couple who went a few trips ago, and the husband begrudgingly didn't want to go. He had done a Great Escape in the past, or not a Great Escape rather, but an all-inclusive, not with us. Horrible experience, but he said, "All right, we'll go," and they've been on every one since. And he said it's the people. He said in fact the trip that they had gone on that was so horrible, if it had been this crew of people, it would not have deterred him from going on another one, just because of how wonderful everyone
And I
has.
have to say, the Kim is so organized, and she makes it so smooth. I'm telling you.
70 chicks with me.
I know, because and when I go on family vacations, I have 8 people I have to plan for, and I'm exhausted. So, big shout out to you because you're so organized that we don't have to do anything.
Well, and yeah, we should note for people who don't go that, and it's a requirement that Cam goes with us.
Yeah.
And so she's there the entire time, and because things do happen.
They do.
Oh, we got in our
Inevitably.
room and it wasn't a king bed and it was supposed to be, or this, and Cam takes care of it.
That's
Well,
right.
That's kind of my job.
It's just
Cam will fix it. Cam
well,
will fix it.
she once floated the idea. She's like, "Now I don't have to go," and I was like, "Yes, you do. I'm not going to be responsible for this." No, I was like, "Nope, I don't want to do it.
Needs to go and have a great
I do want to. I'll do the show, and I want to hang out with everyone and have a great time."
He does. You do. And
Yeah, I
really
love
admire
it.
that. You are
Well,
with
thank you.
all the time. It's
I love it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. I don't
is
do
fun.
it because, well, it's a work
Obligated.
thing.
Yeah.
I gotta. No, I love it. It's so much fun.
Well, and that's the thing. You walk out anywhere on the resort, whether you're at the beach or at the breakfast buffet or you go by the pool, somebody is there
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, what you doing?"
Right,
'cause
yeah.
we're everywhere.
And that being said, I always try to make sure people know who haven't gone, who've thought about going, that you're not required to
No,
hang out with it. Because I think some people, they don't mind the idea of hanging out, but they don't want to feel like, well, we're going to go and, oh, we got to be at this place at this time and do this. You can do your own thing 100%. I mean, absolutely. You don't have to see anyone at all, but you've got a group of friends there if you
and I
want.
think once they get there and realize what
Yeah.
it's really like, then it's easier to just hop in the pool and talk to somebody because, it is hard to. I mean, in our society today, I'm just going to make friends like that. I mean, but
Right,
it's
yeah.
like that because
Yeah.
you have so much in common and you just get along and it's just fun.
All right, going to take a quick break and then we'll get tails on payment.
Okay.
and
Yes.
whatever else that I'm
Yep.
not thinking of to get people pumped and excited about it, because I'm just telling you, I've never talked to anyone that afterwards was like, I really wish we hadn't done that.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I know. More with Cam and the Great Escape coming up. I'm Nick Reed. The Great Escape is officially open to the general public. We've got Cam, the travel group here, filling us in on everything, and it is November 5th, 9th
through the
15th.
Right.
And that's direct flight, and everything is covered. We talked about we'll do the pricing again here. But people don't have to pay it all now,
No.
right?
No.
So explain that,
No.
the cost, how that works.
Okay. You pick your cabin that the room you'd like, either the garden view. They're all junior suites, so they're all beautiful rooms. But one's a garden or a pool view, and then that one's the $19.99. Or you can go for the junior suite ocean view, which just means that you'd be able to see the ocean over the palm trees past the pool. You're not on. It's not an ocean front because there's palm trees and sand between us and the beach.
But
and that
it's
one's-
right there.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
you're
The
not talking about
property's
it's
on the
not
beach.
it's not half a mile
No.
away.
There's not a building in front of it.
No, it's
yeah.
just palm trees and pools and
People can see the photos. It's crystal blue
beautiful.
waters.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and the ocean view is $21.99. So it's not, it's just whatever preference you have. So, and that includes the bag fees with Frontier and all that. That's all included because we don't want to have. To mess
That's
with that.
amazing that the flight's included.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
Check bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, all easy. I mean, you couldn't have a more. Some people like to budget, and some people will even say, "Can I pay a little bit along the way?" And that's fine too. Whatever works. So let's see. The deposit is $500 per person. I strongly suggest the insurance only because you never know what life's going to throw you. And there's two different kinds. There's the voucher, and people don't understand what that means. If you buy the voucher insurance, it's $109.99 a person, so it's half the price just about. But if you cancel, you get it all back in the form of a voucher that you can use for the next 13 months.
Got it.
The only problem with that, if it's a couple, it's not so much a problem because, y'all could find a time to go. But if you're friends or traveling with a roommate, that gets a little tough because you can't give it to anybody else.
Got it.
So I've had a couple of people who haven't been able to use them because they couldn't figure out a time to go.
Got
So just that caution, but it's a great deal if you know you can use it. The other one is cashback. Is $229.99, and you get it all back except for the cost of your insurance. I mean, it's just that simple. For any
And
reason.
that's for any reason,
Yeah.
and up to how close to the trip itself?
Like 24 hours or even
Okay.
day of, as long, if you had a flat tire and couldn't
Got
get
it.
there, as long as you call and let somebody know, then you'll get, we just file a claim, you get it back. So it's $500 plus the insurance because you want to go ahead and cover the insurance because you're
If you do the insurance,
if
which
you
again
want the insurance.
recommended.
And that's also your medical if something should happen because your insurance probably doesn't follow you out of the country unless it's something special.
Yeah,
some of the
that's
military
important
do.
to know,
Yeah,
yeah.
so just kind of because you may sprain your ankle while you're playing volleyball,
Right.
and
Or
you
dislocate your shoulder.
yeah, for one of these horrible things.
Yeah.
That's right. And then everything will be as soon as you pay your deposit, we hold your room and get your flight settled. So that locks you in, and then the final payment is July 1st. Everything
Okay,
has to
got
be
it.
paid by July 1st, and then we go in November.
All right. Let's see. Room service.
Yes.
That's something I always mention that
You
because
like
it's my
that?
favorite.
What's that?
You and Morgan and your
I
room
love
service.
room service. Love it. I know it's fantastic. Room service is covered. You have a mini bar, and I believe it must be a Ryu thing, and it was new because last Ryu we went to was the first Ryu, and usually the mini bars, which it's the same with these, you get like a little refrigerator,
Right.
and it's got some
With
beers and
juice.
snacks and juice and everything, but you also have a quote unquote liquor cabinet that has,
Yes.
if I remember right, rum, vodka, gin, and tequila.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys didn't go to the last one. They're
Right,
in the
yeah.
room.
Wow.
So
It's
there's
in
no
on the
lights
wall
all.
that
Wow.
hanging upside down, and then you just
If you
spend-
hand it to your kids or
or just shoot it.
well,
Before you go on the radio.
So
That's
it's
always
very
that's
handy.
always dangerous.
It's
So I
very-
can
very
attest to that.
It's very handy. It's very handy.
they also have a spa, that Renova spa, which is really
Ooh.
nice.
Well, this is we've done all sorts of different resorts. We've done more of what I'd call the sprawling, where everything is one or two level. This is more of a up high.
Yeah.
And so that's different, but I like, especially because we've been to the Cancun area a number of times, that it is something a little bit different.
is a little
But it's on this tiny little peninsula looking thing,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yes.
there's water just on both sides, but that outside the front, it just looks so crystal
It's beautiful.
clear
The
blue
sand is
waters
so
and
white,
white
and
sands
it's
and
just-
everything.
It
And
is.
of course, we'll get all that information up.
Yes.
Now, we know we mentioned this to adults only, but Michelle had texted in, like, what about toddlers? Is that also no-go?
Yeah.
Yeah, so adult is adult.
Yeah, adults is adult have to be 18.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And I think Sarah's going to we have a flyer that she's made this great, good information. That's on the website. And we have an enrollment form that has to be filled out. And I also need copies of passports because you do have to have a passport valid for 6 months from when we get back. And that's kicked out. Some people have had to renew just because it fell within that time.
Right.
So
Sarah, am I missing anything that we need to
I
help
don't
you?
think so. We have all the information up at ksgf.com, and the way that we have it set up, it's pretty digestible. So whenever you go and you click on the Great Escape, it's like the first thing that pops up in that homepage slider. And when you click on it, we've got everything broke down. So here's all the information on the cost. Here's all the information on the travel insurance. Here's how to reserve, which we do have a KSGF enrollment form if you want to fill out. And you can either send that in to you via email or just stop by the office.
Right.
And then we have all the information up about the Renaissance Hotel, the price on that, and then information on the passport and just kind of how to renew it if you are in the process or you need to do that. So it's all bite-size info at ksgf.com.
And I would also mention, and Christy made the point about how organized things are because of CAM.
Right.
But a lot of times it can be very intimidating if you're wanting to do, you go to a foreign country because you want to experience the all-inclusive, but it can be overwhelming. You get to the airport and then, do I take a taxi? Do I take this? There's so many unknowns, but all of that is planned out
That's
for
right.
us.
You don't have to worry
With
about
the
it.
airport, Cam's very good. You will, when you leave, you get your baggage, you go out this door, there will be this person standing with a KSGF sign. Follow them to the bus. Don't follow anyone else. And we get on the bus, we drop off. Yeah. And I finally realized you are like a kindergartner teacher, and we were on a field trip. And we all you're very
they're stopping
It's a good
margaritas
example.
in the airport, though. That's a problem.
yeah, but you're very kind, you're very loving, but you are stern. And you're like, all right, listen, everyone, here is what you have to do. And everyone's like, okay. And it makes we have
That's what you want on a trip is to have somebody else tell you what to do.
yes.
Let's do that.
We
yeah.
haven't lost anyone yet, so
Now let me just tell people where I am because I know
Yes.
some people just like
Oh,
to
that's a
come
good
by.
point. Yeah.
We're on 2832 South Ingram Mill Road. So if you're headed down Battlefield toward 65, you get to Ingram Mill. There's a light there. You take a left, and we're just right around the corner. If you get to Glendale High School, you've gone too far. And we're just right there, and you can come in anytime or pick up a form if you want, if you don't have a printer or whatever. And my number is 417-887-8898. And we have a great receptionist, Jan, and just tell her, I'm with KSGF, and she'll know exactly how to either help you or get you to me or whatever you need.
And the office is open Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, that's right. 8:30 to 4:30 is when I'm there, and it is the travel group. In case you forget.
Got it. And if they call, you're not there. Will they be prompted?
Just
they
leave a
can
message.
leave a
Sure,
message.
yeah,
Okay,
and I'll
very
call
good.
you back. And don't worry, I'll if you say I really want to go, I'll save you a spot until I talk to you.
All right, excellent. Well, very excited. Glad we're finally
Thank
able
you.
to get it all nailed down and open it to the public, and
That's
it'll
so
be here
exciting.
before we know it.
It
I know
will.
it seems like November's far away, but it
Turn around,
yeah,
it'll be here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many of these we've done. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already here.
I know, and it's like, Nick, I need your passport.
Yeah.
Nick, I need your passport. Nick. Now I just saved it.
All right, thank you so very much. And we've got all the
Thank you.
information at ksgf.com.
Thanks.
All right, folks, all that great escape info at ksgf.com. Sometimes you want to create your own escape at home, and this is where Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor come into play. Premier landscaping service in Ozark. It is more than just creating some sort of patio space. There are a lot of folks that can do it. You can probably do that. Go to a big box store and get some stone pavers. Not only is the experience and the designing something that is customized on a premier level from Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor, but even the products they use, these aren't like a lot of places. Again, it's nothing against them. It's just a level of service. You hire them and they do a number of things, and then they do some measuring. Like, all right, here's what we'll do, and then they go to the big box store. They buy the supplies, and then they come back. That's not how it works with Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor, and you'll find out when you work with them that they use premier products so that it is long lasting, and they customize. We're talking water features, light features, built-in fire pits if you want. They can do so much. Basically, anything you want, they can design. That's Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. You can find them at hunterhardscapes.com. Also at ksgf.com under Nick's endorsements. The upcoming hour, we do have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And as always, if you miss any of the show, we've got it up at ksgf.com, the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, and many other places as well. And all of the information for The Great Escape at ksgf.com. Get signed up. Reserve your slot today. It's going to be a great one. We're very excited about it. And if you're going to be a first-timer, we cannot wait for that as well. News in 60 seconds. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everybody. We've got Author of the Week coming up. ABC Books on North Glenstone sponsoring that. CBS host Gayle King responding to the backlash over the Blue Origin space flight. Suggested the all-female crew was being held to a different standard than men who have been to space. Well, I'm not aware of any outing in which an all-male group of individuals that did nothing whatsoever to fly the craft, just rode along, has gotten the sort of attention as the all-female crew. Are you aware of any? I'm not.
I think it's just the way that they have just acted over this whole situation. I mean, you have those astronauts that were stranded for how many months?
Yeah.
And, I mean, they came down, they were cool, they were really calm and collected, just super thankful. And then you got these idiots that were up there for, 12 minutes? And, I mean, just so profound.
Well, and like saying, well, we're being held to a different standard. There's not been...
No.
I think that there probably has been an all-male group that has taken one of these flights.
I think it
but
was
nobody paid attention to it.
It was like a year or two ago.
Yeah, because these flights have been going on for some time. It's not
Right.
anything new. They just they decided to market it and really get a lot of attention, which I don't blame them for doing that. And that's why Gayle King was on there, CBS. So you've got built-in coverage from CBS, and they did. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, it was nonstop on the coverage of it. And just for the average American, I think it's interesting to see it go up and, to watch it. But it was the behavior of the people involved and acting like it was just this historic mission. It wasn't a mission. They weren't a crew. They were passengers. And I imagine there probably have been all-male passengers that have also gone on one of these Blue Origin flights. But to defy the point Gayle King is making, nobody even knows about it because a big deal wasn't made about it. No one acted like they were a crew flying this ship in some sort of historic fashion. I think she's making things worse. She responded to the backlash in comments to Entertainment Tonight, where she compared the Blue Origin flight to the historic space flight taken by American astronaut Alan Shepard in 1961. She said, please don't call it a ride. We duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day pretty much. No one called that a ride. It was called a flight. It was called a journey. Well, a couple of things that are different. One, that was in 1961. I mean, that was something that was historic because we were doing things that no one had ever done before. But secondly, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I imagine that he had some sort of training in which he actually, had buttons and switches and things in there that he had to manipulate, which, of course, if you saw the inside of the inside had just as much as of control as a tilt-a-whirl does. If you get on a tilt-a-whirl or get on a roller coaster, there are just as many opportunities for you to have some sort of control over that craft as these individuals did with the craft that they were in that went up into space. But even if Alan Shepard, and again, I don't know for sure, even if he didn't have any sort of button pushing or switch flipping or anything, that was different because that was just like something we were doing things we had never done before. We've gotten to the point in our country where people with a lot of money can pay just to take a ride up in one. That's a much, much different situation. And so to make that comparison, to try it, it's just dumb. You're not helping yourself. The proper way to diminish any sort of backlash is either you ignore it or you say, yeah, you know what, we got a little caught up in the moment and I get it, but hey, listen, if you had been there, you would probably understand it's such an amazing thing to see the Earth from above, and maybe we did overreact a little bit. I understand that, but you got to understand it was such a cool thing. I think a lot of people would go, okay, but to say, well, we were doing the exact same thing Alan Shepard did in 1961. She also responded to what a lot of celebrities had a problem with, and that is the pollution aspect of this. These are people that lecture us on driving an SUV, but they have lots of money, and so then they take an 11-minute ride that belches out probably a bigger carbon footprint than most of us do in a year or more in our very own vehicle. And she said that what was it? Her response to that was, "You say you." Okay, wait, hold on. Let me find the exact quote here. I didn't highlight it. She claimed that this actually was a step forward for environmentalism because part of this is learning about how it is to send trash into space so that we get trash off of our planet and instead send it up into space, which, again, I don't know that that's necessarily an argument that you're going to win a lot of people over on. These people. Author of the week coming up in just a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And looking ahead to Saturday, we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 66.
Someone noted that Alan Shepard's suit was zipped up all the way. Because these suits were designed, I think, specifically to have a certain look to them. So regarding the criticisms that these people that generally, from their political persuasion, love to lecture the average person on pollution, yet belching out such a big carbon footprint for this little ride, she addressed critics who complain about the environmental impact, saying that Bezos' mission with Blue Origin was to discover if the rocket would be able to take waste from Earth into space to make our planet cleaner, which a number of you have noted that, well, when it comes to sending trash or waste into space, she wasn't too far off the mark there. Very clever. Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. In moments, I'm Nick Reed. One, I'm Nick Reed. It's Thursday, which means it is Author of the Week, sponsored by the fantastic people at ABC Books on North Glenstone, just south of Kearney. And our author today, Andrew Farley, lead pastor at Church Without Religion, a non-denominational church on the high plains of West Texas, also the author of 7 best-selling books, including The Naked Gospel and Twisted Scripture. You can learn more about him at andrewfarley.org. His book, Gospel Zero, Reclaiming the Radical Message of Grace. Thank you for being with us. And I'll just open up. What's the book about?
Yeah, so it's basically, well, first, thanks for having me. I'm glad and excited to be with you, my friend. The book is different. I mean, it's all about what if the apostles were alive today? What would they be saying to us? What if they had podcast deals and what if they had social media accounts? What would they be tweeting out? What kind of truth bombs would they be delivering to the Christian world today? What would they think of the chaos of churchianity, our big budget temples? Oh my goodness, we're spending so much money, and then do we really know the gospel? There's people that are in church 30, 50, 70 years, and they still don't know if God's mad at them. What's the final judgment going to look like? Are they forgiven? So we got to get back to the gospel, and that's what Gospel Zero is all about, asking, what if the apostles were alive today? What would they say to us?
Now, this is described as a combination of the Screw Tape Letters and the Shack, which are both presented in story fashion, if you will. Is that what Gospel Zero is also in terms of presentation?
Yeah, every chapter is a letter, and it's written to the people of today. And so it comes from, each letter comes from Andronicus and Johannes, 2 fictional apostles who are alive today walking among us. And the question is, what do they have to say to us about how we've mixed church and politics together? What do they have to say about Catholicism and Protestantism and that division? What do they have to say to us about the average Joe is sitting in a church pew and what he believes or she believes? So it's written in a fiction. It's obviously a piece of fiction. It's written as basically a creative way to say, hey, what are we missing 2,000 years later? Like, where have we gone wrong, and what can we do better? And what am I missing from this powerful gospel that the early church was willing to die for this message? Why is that? They were willing to be tortured and killed for this message, and yet the average Christian seems to think, well, Christianity is about obeying all the rules in the Bible and try to be a good person, try to be a good Christian, try to crank out good-looking, fruit and works. And is that really what people were jazzed about, behavior improvement? Or is there something deeper on an everyday level that we can enjoy from God?
I guess to a large degree, almost rhetorically, it's not uncommon to try and take the teachings of so far back and implement them today. And people, what would Jesus do? That is obviously in the context of today, but then it's sort of left open in the air, isn't it? I guess, like, I don't know, what would Jesus do? But we think about him in that time versus us today. And this sounds like, and just have you elaborate on this, maybe almost to just fill that gap, that hole, that unanswered question of, okay, what does that look like today?
Yeah, so I think we're asking, what would the apostles do when we got crosses hanging on our walls and we're saying, yay, Jesus did it all, and then 5 minutes later we're asking for forgiveness. Well, I thought you said you were forgiven. I thought you said Jesus took your sins away. I thought you said he removed them as far as the east is from the west. I thought you said he remembers your sins no more. So what are you doing asking for forgiveness when you just told me you're forgiven once for all, as Hebrews says? So, it's what would the apostles think when we dim the lights and play the sad music at communion, trying to get right in 5 minutes or less? So when the Welch's grape juice is coming down the aisle, why are we trying to get right in the next 5 minutes when, in fact, the whole purpose of the supper is to celebrate that Jesus qualified us. He qualified us through his blood and through his resurrection. And so, it's ironic that we're trying to qualify for a supper that in fact celebrates that he qualified us. So what would the apostles say about all these things when we, the church, are trying to wake up every day and die to self? Well, that phrase doesn't even exist in the Bible. We made it up. Why would we try to die to self when our old self died and we're the new self? Well, we are a new creature in Christ. The gospel is not wake up every day and kill yourself. The gospel is wake up every day and count yourself alive. So we're just missing some key components of the gospel, and this book, Gospel Zero, is causing us to get back to the core message that is powerful and radical and controversial and totally Jesus-centered.
We are talking with our author of the week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, Andrew Farley, as he mentioned the book Gospel Zero, Reclaiming the Radical Message of Grace. There's a level of safety, I suppose, when talking about things of Christ and Christianity by reading directly from the Bible, because one can't really dispute that as a Christian. But when you begin to explore, as the book does, all of these different, how would that look today? How would the apostles, with podcast and, the celebratory nature of churches today, all of a sudden, that gets into interpretation, and that can, I guess, for some people maybe be controversial or make people bristle up and feel like, well, no, that doesn't sound right. Have you dealt, well, first, before whether or not there has been any sort of disagreement with you as to what this looks like, what was that development like? Did you work with others? Did you just brainstorm yourself? Because I think just the questions themselves are very interesting.
Yeah. So I did write the book with a co-author, John Lynch. He's been a pastor for 40 years, and I've been a pastor for 25 years. So we wrote it together. It was definitely an awesome collaboration. He's hilarious. He's a dramatic storyteller and super good with sarcasm and wit and humor. And so you'll find that in the pages of Gospel Zero, you have this wit and sarcasm peppered throughout, and it makes it a lot of fun as we poke fun at legalism and start tipping over sacred cows and pointing people to the real gospel message, which never disappoints. I get what you're asking. I mean, but that would be true, I think, of any time you're writing a book.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the Bible, then you're going to get one person or two people's interpretation of something. Now, the way we wrote this book, it really started with about 300 scripture passages that we peppered throughout the entire manuscript, and then basically we wrote the book around the scripture, which is a unique approach. But what it enabled us to do was capture about 300 of the largest points made in the New Testament and really do a comprehensive job of making sure that we're representing the gospel really accurately, but with the humor and the sarcasm and the wit. So have we gotten pushback? Yes. I mean, for 2,000 years, I would say the gospel always gets pushback. I mean, people say, oh my goodness, that's greasy grace or something, and we say, wait a minute, greasy grace, what were you trying to climb a fire pole and you slipped down? It was never about you climbing up to God. It was about him climbing down to you in the person of Christ. And then people say, oh, that's hyper grace, that's too much grace. And we're like, well, I mean, we're pretty hyper about it and pretty excited. And the New Testament uses the prefix hyper 4 times to describe God's grace. So yeah, it's a radical grace that is not just forgiveness. I think people get scared when they think grace is just forgiveness and a get out of jail free card, and that's all it is, but grace is powerful. Grace is when God rips out your heart and replaces it. Grace is when he causes you to be born again. Grace is when you're a new creation. Grace is when the Holy Spirit comes to live in you and guides you and counsels you every moment of the day. So grace is not dangerous because grace is really victory over sin. I mean, that Romans says it. It says that apart from the law, sin is dead and sin won't master you because you're under grace. And so to say we need less grace is to say we need less victory.
We're talking with our author of the week, Andrew Farley. The book is Gospel Zero, Reclaiming the Radical Message of Grace. Do you find that as people read through this and receive it and they give you feedback, that there's any one particular chapter or storyline that you get the most feedback on? People that felt, man, that really made a connection, or it made me think of it in a way I hadn't thought of before, more than any other passage or area of the
Yeah.
book?
Yeah, so I would say how close we are to God. So a lot of people are hearing in church, or maybe they're hearing in their Bible study or religious circle. They turn on Christian radio or TV. They're hearing, we got to get closer to God. And here's 3 steps to get closer to God. Here's 5 ways to get closer. And we imagine him kind of in the distance, and we're inching ourselves closer. Now, what's interesting is the New Testament never says that a single time. It says that by God's grace, we've been put in union with Christ. I want us to think just a minute, what's it like to be in union, bonded and fused together with Jesus? Jesus called it vine and branches relationship, and he said, Father, that they would be one just as we are one. And so think about how close Jesus and the Father are, and then Jesus was praying that we would enjoy that exact same thing. And that's what we get in the gospel. 1 Corinthians 6 says we are one spirit with the Lord. So I know what we've heard because I grew up in the Bible Belt. I grew up in the USA. I know we've heard that if you do your devotions, if you do your quiet time, maybe 6 more trips to church and 5 more accountability group sessions or whatever, and you're going to get closer to God. Well, actually, yes, we're learning, and yes, we're growing, and yes, that's a process, but as far as being close to God, we are as close to God as we can possibly be. The only way we could get close was through the blood, and that's finished. The only way we could get close is through the resurrection, and that's done. So it's time for us to count ourselves clean and close to God. And when you start believing that you're clean and close to him, next thing you know, you're acting like it.
Final question for Andrew Farley, our author of the week on the book Gospel Zero, Reclaiming the Radical Message of Grace. What's your ultimate hope for people who they purchase the book, they read through it, maybe pass it along to someone? What do you hope for them?
Well, first, I want them to see that a book about the gospel can be downright hilarious. It can be fun. You can enjoy the wit and the humor in it. And then you're not just going to laugh. Like, you're going to learn some deep and profound truths about your forgiveness, about freedom from the law and living under God's grace. You're going to learn about how close you are to God. If you're tired of churchianity, tired of trying to do your best and try your hardest, then this book's for you. It's going to help you breathe a sigh of relief and get to know God's grace like never before.
I want to thank you, our author of the week, Andrew Farley, for being with us this morning. And, of course, ABC Books on North Glenstone, making it possible for us to interview these fine folks every week. And like all of the author of the week books, you can find Gospel Zero, Reclaiming the Radical Message of Grace at ABC Books on North Glenstone. For Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed.
This is your home for Town Hall.
Streaming live, KSGF.com. Tomorrow we will be broadcasting live from Scramblers. Friday Road Show sponsored by Shirley's Heating and Air. Coming up, the DNC tearing itself apart. Vice Chair David Hogg vowing to spend millions to oust some of his own party's incumbents. We've got that coming up. And an ex-Bernie Sanders staffer talking about this fighting oligarchy theme that Bernie Sanders is running around the country campaigning on, and this staffer is on Charlemagne's show, Charlemagne the God, talking about how this is so missing the mark that it is falling completely flat. And I think it's an interesting insider's take because we keep hearing Democrats talk about, look at those crowds they're bringing in. Uh-oh, big trouble for Trump world. They'd better start paying attention. But one former Sanders staffer saying, no, nothing to see here. We'll have that audio next. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Ozark's first meteorologist, Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today we'll see scattered showers throughout the morning and then sunny into the afternoon with a high near 81. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. For your Good Friday, showers in the afternoon with a high near 80. And looking ahead to Saturday, we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 66.
DNC Vice Chair David Hogg. I mean, the fact that this guy was elected the vice chair of the DNC is just a fantastic demonstration of where it is that the Democrat Party is today. DNC Vice Chair David Hogg vows to spend millions to oust his own party's incumbents during primaries. As you can imagine, this is the battle that I've been talking about. And James Carville is a representation of the other side of this divide, and that's the Democrats who have long been in charge, who are the more pragmatic Democrats. Now, they're not pragmatic in their rhetoric, but just in their approach. So James Carville, he's still nutty and talks about Trump being Hitler, and if you don't support Joe Biden or Democrats, you're a Nazi collaborator. So he still uses the dangerous rhetoric and the stuff that fuels the fire of psychopaths. But when it comes to how to actually carry out elections, the way to gauging what it is that the American people are looking for, what they're saying, and responding to it, he is old school. The newer Democrats, the David Hoggs and the Sob Squads and the just some of the newer, younger ones that continue to get listened to, they aren't that way. They think that the problem with the Democrat Party is they haven't been pushing open borders enough and DEI enough. And Tim Walz said this when he was in Texas just a couple of weeks ago, as he's trying to hitch his wagon to to that horse, as he is clearly planning on running for president in 2028. He sees that or believes that is the future of the Democrat Party. It is the young, crazy people, and so he's catering to them by speaking their message. And he was talking about in Texas just a couple of weeks ago that we don't need to do less of that. We need to do more of that. So all of the things that the research has shown, undeniably, that turned a lot of people away from the Democrat Party and had them voting for Trump and Republicans, the David Hoggs and the Ocasio-Cortezes and that whole crew, they're saying we need to do more of that, not less. And so here you have David Hogg, and he's announced as the vice chair of the DNC, plans to allocate $20 million from his organization, Leaders We Deserve, to try and replace Democrat lawmakers in safe districts with young and more progressive candidates. In an interview with Politico, he stated, "We have a culture of seniority politics that has created a litmus test of who deserves to be here. We need people, regardless of their age, that are here to fight." As you can imagine, Democrats are not happy with the move from the political activist. DNC Chair Ken Martin told the outlet that the party's longstanding position is that primary voters, not the national party, determine candidates for the general election. Still, Martin added, David Hogg is a passionate advocate, and we are grateful for his service to the Democratic Party, whether it be his role as the DNC vice chair or in an outside capacity. So you have the chair and vice chair of the DNC preaching completely opposite messages. You've got the chair of the DNC who is speaking to, frankly, what it is that the DNC is. The DNC is supposed to try and keep the numbers up. They're trying to, if they're out of power, to get back in power. And so what you want to do is whatever is necessary in order to increase the likelihood that you are going to win. Well, your base from which you start in any election cycle are your safe seats, right? So heavily Democrat districts. That's not what you want to put money into. You want to put money into areas that you think you can flip, that you have a reasonable possibility of flipping, or you are potentially going to lose. So if it is an area that is held by a Democrat, but the polling doesn't look good, then you want your money there. The last place you want to mess with are the safe spaces. Well, what David Hogg has announced is he is going to take his other organization and spend $20 million of its dollars in order to oust the easy wins and replace them with people of his choosing, because he feels like the easy win seats for the Democrats aren't progressive and crazy enough. Now, this is insanity, because here he is vice chair of one organization, and he says he's going to spend money in order to essentially battle against the organization he's vice chair of. He's taking these two organizations in which he has authority, and he's making them battle against one another. How dumb can you be? It's a level of stupidity. It ranks right up there with Kamala Harris and her campaign's brilliant plan in Wisconsin to campaign with Liz Cheney, who is extremely unpopular in Wisconsin among progressives, so much so that the campaign then had to spend dollars, particularly in the Milwaukee market, to try and convince voters that she's not, connected to Liz Cheney, because the campaigning of with Liz Cheney was being used against her by Republicans. And so here she was fighting against herself, literally the campaign competing against itself. And that's what David Hogg has announced he's going to do. Bernie Sanders is out there, and he is trying to tap into the crazies of the Democrat Party, which isn't anything unusual. He has always tried to do this, as we noted. his messaging of bring down the oligarchy and let's stick it to the fossil fuel industry. He made his pitch at Coachella, which is owned by someone who made their fortune off the fossil fuel industry, an oil explorer, and who was preaching in front of a crowd of white people that have the sort of money that they can spend $2,000 or $3,000 in order to get into Coachella and have, some drinks. Perfect audience, right? One of his former staffers was on, let's see here. Boy, you know what? I think I don't have this audio. So I'll just read to you the quote. So I failed to get the audio. You've got on Charlemagne the God, a former staffer of Bernie Sanders, Figaro is the name, and saying that there's still a demographic, people that are not involved at all, people that don't give a damn about none of this, talking about the Bernie Sanders demographic, saying, I'm just going to be honest, the progressive demographic, the Rainbow Coalition, they're all white liberals, pretty much white progressives. There's still a lack of talking to those that have completely given up, completely disenfranchised. Working on that campaign, she said of the Bernie Sanders campaign. I'm just going to be straight with you. I'm very clear about my position with Bernie Sanders. He is talking to a very progressive white-ran movement to me. And even if you're Hispanic, it's still white adjacent. It's still, as long as we get everybody who make money out of the way, as long as everybody makes $15 an hour, all will be well. But he struggles with dealing with race. I'm saying it as a former racial justice director. Also, everybody ain't mad at rich people, Charlemagne, like some people really trying to get the bag. Charlemagne said he believes Sanders' fighting oligarchy message is effective, but his former campaign staffer disagreed, saying, well, the hood don't even know who the oligarchy is. How do you say it? She said, mispronouncing it. Quote, they don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, they don't. So there's different messages that people need to have to engage. And I don't think the Democrat Party tent is too big. It's too big. It needs to be broken down. Everybody's not going to relate to Bernie Sanders. And she went on to talk about how, a lot of the verbiage and language that Bernie Sanders is using, it's totally irrelevant, particularly to the black population. The point being here is that we have seen the media and Democrats out there over the past several weeks using some of these Bernie Sanders events in which largely he's talking to rich white kids as events that should really scare Republicans, should really scare Trump, because look at the crowds they're bringing in. And there was a research project done a few weeks ago that showed when the analysis in which you can track and monitor cell phone usage, it was like 70 or 80% of these people were the same people at every event. So it wasn't this authentic, organic uprising of people in local communities. These were left-wing activists that oftentimes admit that they're paid just to go to these events. And you combine that with a campaign staffer here of his, or former one, saying that what he's doing out there, this is not going to move the needle any whatsoever. I think brings to reality a little bit and pours cold water on this narrative that we're beginning to see a break in the staleness of the Democrat Party, and Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez out there, they're really getting everyone excited and revved up. As we have seen with most of the Democrat presentations over the last several years, it is a lot of smoke, but there's no real fire. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. We've got to see if we can twist her arm to get on The Great Escape, her and Will.
Oh, yes.
This time around. It was
They've
one
only
of
been on one?
Yep, One Great Escape. They went on. It was a fantastic time. And It was great having her on the show as well, talking about, we visit with her every other Friday or so from Scramblers, and she just updates us briefly on some of the things that are going on in the market and specific openings or open houses that she may have or things that are about to be listed. But I remember one of the things I found most interesting when she was just talking about her approach as we did the show from wherever it was at the time, whatever country, and how, being honest is something that's very important to her, not just as a moral person, but as a realtor, because it is very easy whenever somebody is selling their home that is personal to them and, they put a lot of effort and pride into the design and the overall feel of it. But when that feel isn't what is resonating with the marketplace and it's something that could be a hindrance to selling the home as opposed to helping it, it's very easy to not want to hurt their feelings and say, well, okay, and put it on the market. And then if it doesn't after a month or so sell, then maybe I'll talk to them about changing some things. But her number one priority is you. And so if that means maybe hurting your feelings, of course, she's just as nice as can be. She's not mean about it. But, if that means telling you, hey, listen, I know that this is your personal taste and that's fantastic. Everyone has their own. But this is working against you right now. You need to change it. That's what she does. And so point being, if you want somebody that's just going to tell you whatever it is that makes you feel good about the home you're trying to sell, and you're like, well, I think I can get $500,000 out of this, and it's actually worth $300,000. If you want somebody that says, all right, well, we'll do it, $500,000, I bet you're right. Probably not Emily Johnson. But if you want someone whose number one goal is to help you sell that home or to get the best deal in the new home you want to buy, then you want Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. California Governor Gavin Newsom is suing Trump over what he says are unlawful tariffs. Newsom said in a statement, President Trump's unlawful tariffs are wrecking chaos on California families, businesses, and our economy, driving up prices and threatening jobs. We're standing up for American values who can't afford to let the chaos continue. Oh, how funny this is on a number of fronts. Well, number one, they're not illegal because Congress gave the president authority to do this. See, as Democrats are incapable of just speaking from an honest position, and that's usually because they're wrong. So what they're trying to do, and I've seen they're trying to claim these are taxes because they want to say Trump is raising taxes. And they want to say, well, these are unlawful. No, they're not. Now, you can argue they're unconstitutional because the laws that were passed by Congress to give the president authority to impose tariffs has never been challenged before the Supreme Court. So one can make that argument that this is not a constitutional law that was put into place, but that's not on Trump. Trump isn't doing anything that the law doesn't say that he can't do. The law was specifically written to let presidents do this. This is the same reason over a year ago, Joe Biden stood in the Rose Garden announcing he was putting 100% tariffs on China. And of course, Democrats applauded that. But that President Trump's tariffs are making it unaffordable to live in California. Oh, I'm sorry. Have people not been fleeing California in record numbers for years now? Everyone knows that California has the biggest income gap, rivaled only perhaps by areas like New York and New Jersey. They have virtually eliminated the middle class. A house that would cost $125,000, $150,000, $200,000 here in this area is over $1 million there because of their policies that have caused the cost of living to skyrocket. The reason that their gas prices are at times almost twice, if not more than that they are for other people in this country because of regulations and taxes. I mean, it's just such a sleazy, dishonest presentation to try and... Now, if you want to argue that it is making some things more expensive, that's a fair argument. But to make it seem as if And this is where a screw up is going to be, because people in California know as well, that make it sound as if California was the most affordable place to live, just like everywhere else. I mean, buying a home in Los Angeles or Beverly Hills was, just like buying one in Nixa. Everyone knows that that's not true. But think about this as well. And there have been, I want to say the governor of Illinois has also talked about with some other Democrat governors that they were going to fight back against this or try to figure out workarounds so that companies that are based in other countries do not have the burdens of the tariffs. These are people. Understand this. This is a party, the Democrat Party, that just supported a presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, who said she was going to jack up tax rates on corporations here in the United States. But they're fighting to keep the cost of doing business of these corporations lower in other countries. One of the reasons so many businesses have left states like California is because they continue to put burdensome regulations and taxes upon those businesses. But boy, if you're a business in communist China, where they use slaves for labor, Gavin Newsom will fight tooth and nail to make sure that you don't have burdensome taxes put upon you or burdensome tariffs. Do you not understand how jacked up that is? How is it you justify, particularly all you Bernie Sanders supporters, or talk about corporations paying their fair share? Well, unless they're doing business in China. Then we'll fight tooth and nail to make sure that they don't have any additional financial burdens. Well, that's different, see, because that gets passed on to the consumer. Oh, and corporate taxes on businesses here in the United States doesn't? You see, this is the problem you create for yourself if you're an honest individual. This is another instance in which Democrats are taking a position in which people who are in America, or companies in this case that are in America, take a back seat and get treated more poorly than companies that are in other countries. And to have a Democrat Party that has never seen a tax or a regulation or a fee they didn't like when it comes to companies and corporations in the United States of America now stand up for the right of companies in foreign countries to not have those burdens is another demonstration of who they are and who they support. And it ain't the American people or American companies. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Want to read a text message that came in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line about the Pyramid Roofing Company. I love my Pyramid Roof. I bought it because of the great job that Sarah Myers does on the morning show with Nick Reed. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. We're going to have a lot of rain move through the listening area over the next couple of days. If you experience any type of issues, whether it's yellowing on your ceiling, drips, leaks, or maybe your gutters just can't keep up, don't go with a random door knocker. Make sure that you reach out to a professional, and the professional that I use is Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. They offer free roof inspections. They're very thorough at that. When they come out, they check everything from your vents, they check around your chimney, they check around your skylight. They even get inside of your attic and check your decking as well. They take tons of photos and videos so you can see everything that they see, and then they work through the entire process with you through that insurance process, that design process, from start to finish. They are there. So if you do experience any type of issues over the next couple of days, make sure to schedule an appointment with the Pyramid Roofing Company. You can find all of that contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
And I missed a text regarding Emily from one of you on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, and it says Emily is the best.
She is.
I called her the other day just to ask for some home repair advice. She was so helpful. Look at that. Look at that. Emily is superstar. Tomorrow morning, broadcasting live. Yes, it's Good Friday. We will be at Scramblers. Our Friday Road Show is sponsored by Shirley's Heating and Air. So love for you to stop by, kick off the weekend. Glenn Beck is next. I'm Nick Reed.